Today's lesson is about how Solomon asked the Lord for wisdom, but what will stand out is the way in which he asked. Many people claim that they are willing to do anything God tells them, but they never seem to hear his voice. The issue is not God's unwillingness to speak, but our refusal to listen or a lack of understanding of how to properly hear his voice. God speaks to us in a variety of ways. One sure way to hear God's voice is by reading his word in the Holy Bible. A second way God speaks to us is through prayer, often in a still, small voice, which is seen with Elijah in 1 Kings chapter 19. It wasn't through the strong winds or the earthquake or the fire that was happening around him, but instead God chose to speak through a still, small voice. Once we begin to understand the character of Jesus, we will better discern when and how he is speaking. It's also important to make sure that your relationship with God is being nurtured so that you can discern his voice. A third way that God may choose to speak to us is through an anointed man or woman of God. There have been plenty of times when God has used my pastor to minister to me in my personal situation as he was sharing the word with the congregation. A fourth way that God may speak to us is through dreams, and that brings us to the subject of this lesson. In 1 Kings chapter 3, verses 5 through 28, the Lord appeared to King Solomon in a dream, and God said, "Ask what I shall give thee." What an amazing experience for Solomon, and what an important decision that Solomon had to make. Solomon asked the Lord to give him an understanding to judge the people, that he may discern between good and bad. He was asking for wisdom. God honored his selflessness and blessed him with riches and long life and honor in addition to the wisdom that he requested. Even if you never experience a dream like Solomon did, it is the will of God that you hear his voice and become familiar with it. So today, I encourage you to be intentional about seeking the ways God communicates with you most often, and be especially attuned to the sound of his voice. I also encourage you to ask the Lord for wisdom, just as Solomon did, because his word says that he will generously give it to you. You just have to ask.